Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktavo, the parent company of InkSoft, GraphicsFlow, Printavo, SignTracker, and Clarity. Welcome to the webinar today. We are going to get into how products work in InkSoft, specifically the InkSoft product catalog. And it's interesting, when I first was learning InkSoft, I think I found this to probably be the most challenging part of the platform. I just assumed that when I would create a store that it would just be pre-populated with products and I could go and search through a giant database and select the products I was interested in. But then I realized that InkSoft has tens of thousands of products, and I probably didn't want to go through and dig through tens of thousands of products when I just want to add a Gildan 2000 to a store. And so I started doing a little bit of digging and watched some videos and reached out to one of the customer service managers and actually sat down and interviewed them on how products work in InkSoft so I could explain the product catalog in my training ventures. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to go through the document that I created with the customer service manager that explains all of the nuance around the product catalog and how products work in InkSoft. And in order to do that, we're going to do it in the context of our demo account, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So I have landed in our demo account at InkSoft. This is our blue shirt printing account. It's a fictitious company, but it's really built like a real working store. And so it has had quite a bit of work done to it in terms of building it out. So it matches what you guys are going to be doing on your end. It's also got a lot of individual stores in it with a lot of different flavors for those stores, but it's fully loaded with product. And what I want to do first is I just want to talk about product catalogs. Think of a product catalog as a curated group of products that you intend to sell within your stores or within your proposals. And so when you first log into InkSoft, you're not going to have a whole giant catalog of products assigned to your first store. You create your first store, it's not going to have a whole bunch of products copied in there because you haven't built your catalog yet. So one of the things that you're going to do in your onboarding process is build that catalog. And that's where you're going to select the products from our product feed based on what you sell all the time. And one of the things that's unique about the product feed and the way products are added to InkSoft is you have the ability to have curated products for each individual store. And let's say you get a store set up for your school stores and a different store set up for your corporate stores. You could have all the same products curated in your school stores. So when you clone that store and create a new one, those products will automatically be populated in the next school store. And you can do that for other vertical markets like corporate or fundraising stores or event stores, all those things. So getting your product catalog set up initially is really super important. And I'm going to walk you through how to do that now. And you can kind of think of it as like your Spotify playlist. It's got all your favorites, all the things that you're using all the time. And you can have different playlists for different types of stores. And in fact, you can have a single playlist for a single store to be unique to just that store. So let's go ahead and dive into the product catalog first. A couple different ways to get there. I think probably the easiest way to get there is just to go over here to InkSoft Core and just click on InkSoft Core, and that's going to open up your sidebar navigation, and then you can go into products. So let's take a peek in there, see what's going on, and I'm going to land into products. And so what I'm going to be seeing by default is everything that's in my catalog. So we would normally start off with a blank slate. So everything that is in this catalog, if you kind of start scrolling down here, and there's about 4 pages of products in here and pretty big, robust group of products, 153 products in here, but it started with 0. And so what's happened over time is our sales team members have gone in and added products. Sometimes they're very unique things, like there's a business card somebody added in here, but added the products that we typically pull from within our stores when we're doing demos or if we're building out a store from scratch. And so the reason that's important is I don't want to have to look through the tens of thousands of products in InkSoft just to grab a heavy cotton t-shirt. I don't want to do that. I just want to be able to look through the things I'm commonly using. And I think that's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? You have to assign products to a store, or you have to look through tens of thousands of products. And I think there's a really good balance there. And the balance there is curating that product catalog for what we call your main product catalog in InkSoft. So you can have a catalog in InkSoft of your main products, and none of those products need to even be assigned to a store, even your main store. And I think one of the things that's a little bit confusing is when you add a product to InkSoft, it pops up a little message and it says, hey, this is going to be added to your main store, but you might not want to add it to your main store. You might want it just to exist in your catalog and then just go and manually add it to stores. So That's something that it's important to understand, and I'll explain that as we work through this. If I want to add a new product in InkSoft, probably the easiest way to do it is to go over here to add new product and pull it from the supplier catalog. Now, if I do just new product, this is me building something out from scratch, which means I would have to go in and name it, fill out all these fields, upload a photo, and go in and manipulate it. And that's something that people do from time to time because they have products. Maybe they're a manufacturer and they had something made offshore. It came in and they want to add that brand new pocket protector to their catalog, and they took photos of it and they have all the details and they just want to manually add it. So you can manually add things one at a time. So that's certainly something you can do. You can also add things in bulk. And there's a little video that shows you how to do that. And basically, when you're adding things in bulk, you're going to download a CSV template. So think of it as an Excel file. It's going to have columns and fields that you can take a look at it. Maybe we'll just download one real quick so you can take a look at that, see what that's all about. And we'll go ahead and open that up in my spreadsheet program. And it has here the store, any kind of categories, product name, product description. It's going to have a SKU number if I'm creating a SKU, which is a pretty common thing to do. Size is a required field. So it might be one size fits all or just one. The weight, that's important because we're going to use that to calculate shipping costs. Color name, so maybe ash, royal. Color name too, maybe that's an accent color. So the body of the product is ash gray and the ringer tee has navy blue. Color one hex value, what is that? Those are the color swatches. So each product in an InkSoft store has a color swatch, and we would use the hex value for that color to populate that swatch. And so that would be for each line. So if it was a ringer, you would need to have the color swatch value for the gray, and then you'd have to have the color swatch value for the navy, whatever color you're using. And you'd repeat that for every single color in the product. Moving right along, you can see that there's some additional information, quantities, some fulfillment information, if you're using UPC codes, all of that. Important one here is image. If we have photos and we know the name of the photo for the front, so maybe it's navy t-shirt front.jpg, if we put that image name in here, then we can upload a corresponding zip file with all of the images, including front, back, third or fourth images, alternative views, and we'll automatically populate those images within the product. And so that's a super handy way to do bulk uploading. And we do this a lot when we have customers that have like a whole bunch of promotional products that are not within our platform. They'll use this to bulk upload those promotional products. Or we have customers that are manufacturers and they have a whole bunch of their manufactured products that have professional product photography, and they use that to upload as well. So that's basically the process. You fill out the template, save the template, the CSV file, get all the photos, make sure the columns are filled out with the photo image names, zip those up, upload both, and your products will magically appear within your InkSoft platform. That's something that you can experiment with a little bit if you want to try that. There's a wonderful video in here that'll walk you through that. The other thing that I wanted to show you while we're in here is from Supplier catalog. So we talked about manually creating something. We talked about bulk product upload. And now we're going to talk about from Supplier catalog. Copy from existing SKU would just be making a copy of an existing product. So maybe you have one copy of that product that has a different photo versus another. So you'd have an identical product, but one product has maybe a side view and the other one has a front view as the default. That'd be a pretty good example of that. So you could copy from an existing product. But what we're going to do is we're going to copy from Supplier catalog. So let's talk about the feed. When I'm in the feed, there's a little over, I think there's 23 companies that are represented in this feed here. And so what does that mean? That means we're linking to a data file that these suppliers are providing to us. And remember when we showed that template field that we were just working on? They're providing those fields to us, and we're using those fields to populate InkSoft with new products. And so one of the things that's tricky about that is we're reliant on the quality of the data that's provided by the supplier. So oftentimes we have to preview those when we go in and to make sure that they put a proper print region in there. We've got about 23 different suppliers. And, I had a question that came up the other day. What Canadian suppliers do you represent? We do have the Sanmar Canada catalog. And you notice that Alpha Broder is missing here. And the reason for that is Alpha Broder, see his little update here, says upcoming changes to Alpha Broder supplier feed on May 30th. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. What that means is Alpha Broder's website is no longer live. They were absorbed, so to speak, from SNS Activewear, and they're no longer maintaining the Alpha site. So all the Alpha products are now in SNS's website. So what does that mean? If there was an Alpha product that was unique to Alpha that didn't already exist in SNS, it's in the SNS e-commerce website, and it's in the SNS supplier feed. So we're getting those feeds, and what kind of information are we getting? Well, we talked about that spreadsheet and all the data that's coming in on that, but there's a lot of other data that's coming in, like live pricing based on their main catalog pricing, whatever their standard pricing would be within the SNS website. Now, you can go in and change your costing, but it's always going to populate with the standard SNS or Augusta Sportswear, whatever vendor you're selecting. It's always going to populate with their standard pricing. We're also getting live inventory in many cases. The suppliers update their inventory on a periodic basis. It's not happening like instantaneously. What they're doing is they're updating their inventory systems. They're supplying us with that updated data on a frequency, and then that's uploading your InkSoft catalog. And you don't have to use inventory data within your product catalogs, but some people do because they like to make sure that things are in stock, especially something that's maybe not such a standard product, something that's very unique or something that's perpetually out of stock, like a Richardson 112 hat would be a good example of that. When I want to go and add a product, the easiest way to do that is from a supplier catalog. So if I go over here and I select Sanmar, and I'll go to the filter type, and I want to look either by category, might be t-shirts, or a manufacturer, could be Gildan, or a recommended product. I'm just going to go over here and go to by manufacturer, and I'm going to scroll down, and we'll pick one, and we'll pick alternative apparel. Go ahead and click on that, hit apply. And if it's already going to be in my catalog, it's going to say it's already in my catalog. These are alternative apparel t-shirts. Let's say I want to add this t-shirt. Looks like there's 3 colors. I would come over here and I would select it and I'd copy it to my catalog. So it is automatically going to put it in my main store. So we'll click into that product and we can see where it's located. So if I go to store assignment, you're going to see it's just sitting in my main store right now. So it's automatically there. Maybe I don't want it in my main store. Maybe I just want it to exist in my catalog without being in my main store. It's just in my catalog. It's just not assigned to any store. Super easy because all I have to do is uncheck that and hit done. So now it's just living in my catalog, but it's not assigned to any stores. You'll also notice that it says active here, right here. It says active or inactive. I can make a product inactive, product category over here. I can select a category, and in that case, I think I just select t-shirts. I can select quite a few different options, but right here, I think I just want to do men's unisex t-shirt, hit done. Bear in mind, I have to save changes. So if you've been using InkSoft in a while, you're probably looking at this section and you're going, man, this looks different than what I'm used to, because this is the new completely rebuilt workflow for adding products. And it's been completely updated, rearranged, improved. I think it's a lot more intuitive. It was a massive initiative. And you take a look at it, if you're used to using the Rapid Product Creator, you'll notice there's a lot of similarities in terms of the workflow, as well as a lot of similarities in terms of the user interface. So let's kind of walk through things. You've got 4 tabs. You got a general tab. You have a decoration tab. That's new. You have colors and images. Okay. And you have pricing and inventory. And you have this advanced tab. So let's start over here at general. So general, this is what I determine the default color to be. So let's say I was going to add this to the InkSoft Designer and I wanted it to land on the white as opposed to the asphalt. I would go over here and do that. I kind of like the asphalt, so we're going to leave it there. I think having it land on neutral colors is a good idea. Oftentimes people have it land on black, or they'll have it land on a gray or a white. That's kind of a standard procedure. The supplier, Sanmar, a manufacturer's alternative. Here's your product SKU. I can change that. I don't have to use their SKU. If I want to put in my own SKU, an internal part number, so to speak, we can do that. Here's the manufacturer SKU. We don't have to use that as well. But this right here is the InkSoft product ID, and we can't change that. So people that are using our API in some of those custom use cases, that's a specific ID for that specific product. Availability, description, how your product is produced, is it going to be, something that's available to shoppers? We want to put a different product description in here. Here is a search tag. So if we want to, add an additional search tag in here, this is different than product categories like t-shirt. This is if somebody was looking for a brand, let's say, popular brand names are Richardson, or popular brand name might be Bella Canvas. Those are automatically going to be populated in these search tags. So this is a very typical way of looking at the general tab. And let's kind of move along and let's go over to the decoration tab because this part's changed quite a bit. If we go over to decoration, product type, is this going to be a blank product or custom pre-decorated? Custom pre-decorated means it already has the graphic on it. So it's something that I had gone in and created a whole bunch of really cool designs for our local community. And I had added a product. It's already going to have the decoration on it. There's no need to have a print region. The photo will have the product decoration already on it. And that's a pretty typical way to do it. But when we go over here and we have it as a blank product, it's going to have a print region. And here's something that's important to consider. You don't have to enable print regions on right, left, back. You could have a print region just for the front. So if you're going to assign this product to the InkSoft designer and you only want them to print front and back, just disable these two options right here. Just turn them off. These two options are only going to be available if there's corresponding photography. So over here, if you look at this and we turn this off, you're not going to be able to decorate this unless there's corresponding photography. So I'm just going to turn left sleeve and right sleeve off. And I'm going to go over here and go to manage regions, and I'm going to hit the little editing button over here. And this is where I can reposition it. Now, something really important. In order for this feature to work perfectly, the suppliers have to provide photography where the different colored versions of the garment are in the same relative location, same size, relative location. So it's the exact same t-shirt in navy, white, black, gray, whatever. Don't always do that. Sometimes they're slightly off. We don't have any way to really accommodate for that. So sometimes when you see like a product maybe switch and move a little bit when you're switching between colors, that's really an issue with the product photography from the supplier. And so that's why giving yourself a little bit of latitude here, we'll go ahead and move this around a little bit. I'll shrink it down here. So notice when I made it a little smaller, I've got a little bit more latitude in terms of it doesn't have to be perfect. And I would certainly not do this. I would certainly have it so it looks pretty close to what the legit product is. But this is to scale. So you notice when I have this set to 12 inch by 12 inch, when we create that graphic, that is what's going to determine the scale of the graphic. So where that's really important is around embroidery, because if you know a little bit about embroidery and embroidery stitches, if you have a DST file, DST files are really just primitive file format. And in that file format, it's just telling the embroidery machine, needle up, needle down, X and Y coordinates, where to put the needle. And there's some other basic information around how to sew that with the machine. That's what a DST file is. So when you make a DST file smaller or larger, it impacts how it sews. So smaller packs too many needle penetrations in, can break a thread. Larger spreads the stitches out, looks terrible, opens things up. So when you're using a DST file, the scale of your print region is really important because it's not going to let you scale plus or minus within that mock-up, so to speak. It's not going to let you blow the image on the mock-up up or down because it's at scale. It's what it's doing is it's preventing for blowing that DST file up and creating something that doesn't correspond to the actual scale of the embroidery. So that's why for caps and things that are embroidered, getting that scale in there is pretty important. You're downloading a graphic to print. You already know what your spec is. So if it downloads at 10.75 inches and your spec for a large t-shirt is 11, you're going to do that on your end. But for embroidery, it's important to get the dimensions in there. And so we'll come back down here to the back and look at that one. So here's the front, here's the back, and you notice we can do these independent of each other. And I'll make that just a little bit smaller. So got a lot of latitude on that. So I've got that all set up. Manage available print widths. So here's all the different widths. My max width right here, I've already got it set up for 12 inches. These are the ones that are available right now as stock print widths for the various products that I have. And if I want to get rid of one, I can delete it. Or if I want to add a new one, let's say like adult 11 inch, it's an alternative. I could add that as well. Just save it. So these are just all my available print widths. Designer overlay is, let's say you have a license plate frame and you want to sublimate it. You can upload a photograph and have it mask out so it will only put the print on the shape of the license plate frame. It's not a square or a rectangle. It'll actually make the print follow the curvature of a license plate frame. So designer overlays is where you upload basically that photo file, so that determines where the print region is going to be. So that's what that is. And then decoration settings, real important. If you turn off decoration settings on a product, you turn them all off, what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to add a graphic to it in the Rapid Product Creator. So it's not going to give you that option. So we've switched this area up a little bit, and we have two options that are going to be default: digital print and screen print. But we don't automatically enable embroidery. And in embroidery, because of the DST files being limited in terms of sizing up or down, if you're going to add embroidery for a product, you would manually go in and add it for that product, enable it. Now, what is the difference between these three? What is the difference between digital print, screen print, and embroidery? It really comes down to how things are priced. So embroidery is a little bit different because it's going to restrict the sizing of the DST files when you upload a DST file. So embroidery is a little bit of a different behavior, so to speak. But digital print and screen print behave largely the same way, except how they're priced. And so we would set up a pricing grid for digital print. And in this case, the pricing grids I have set up are for light. And what that means is I'm not anticipating having the extra cost of a underbase in it. So it's a little less expensive for me to print. These are relative to the InkSoft Designer and also relative to the Rapid Product Creator if we're using it in a proposal. So these are the pricing grids that we're using to calculate the price of products within a proposal, but also within the InkSoft Designer. So light would be no white underbase. It's a less expensive process, and we might charge differently for it. Heat press might be just a general heat pressing, like a vinyl graphic or a plasticell transfer. And sublimation kind of speaks for itself. But we can have as many of these as we want, and we could have a different one in here for DTF. Screen printing, same thing. We're just doing lights and a standard default, which is dark shirts, and lights would probably be a little less expensive because we're not doing a white underbase. You can add business days to produce if you want to populate that in your store so they know what their lead time is. You can certainly add that in there. I don't see people doing that too often. Free printing, what does that mean? It means if you're using something in the InkSoft Designer, let's say it's a Richardson 112 cap with a DTF transfer or a patch on it, you're going to price it so it's already got the patch on it. You're not going to manually configure the pricing based on a grid here. You're going to just price it patch included. So if I do that, when I create that product, the Rapid Product Creator, I can just have it pre-populated, and that would be applied to the designer. So when they go to the designer, it's like, hey, it's $22 with the print. It's not going to change the cost of the product based on how many ink colors or if it's full color digital. It's just going to price it as a flat fee. Whatever the cost of the product that we assign to that product that goes in the designer, that's what it's going to be, inclusive of decoration. And that's something that you'll see a lot of times when people are creating what we call signage products. So we'll go ahead and do that. Ink palettes, kind of important. We have a standard digital ink palette. That's all the common standard colors that you'll see used across digital printing. We have a standard screen printing set of colors. I've added to this demo account a custom color palette that's navy and gold. And the reason I did that is I wanted to showcase how you could create a palette that just limits the colors in the InkSoft Designer to just the school colors. You can do that. And you can create as many palettes as you want. There's a little link here that shows you how to create palettes and have store level palettes that you can assign specific palettes to specific stores. Pretty cool. That I think the best case for that is if you have a corporate store and you're using the InkSoft Designer and you want to limit the colors that are available for changing to the official corporate colors, that's how you would do it. In terms of the difference between the standard digital colors and the standard screen printing colors, they're more or less the same palette. But one thing to be aware of is when you're choosing a color palette, you probably want to have that aligned or tuned to your process. So one thing that people do, and it's a pretty common thing, I think it makes a lot of sense, is they'll go in and create a palette that matches maybe their Wilflex inks. And they would actually take the hex values or RGB values from their Wilflex inks, create a custom palette that's actually matching those values. And so it matches the colors of screen printing ink that you actually carry in inventory. Max print colors, I'm not concerned about that, but for screen printing, we can limit that out to say 6 if we wanted to, but I'm not going to change that. I think most people don't. Blank purchase options, I don't want to allow that to be purchased blank, but I do want to allow this product to be in the designer. So that would be in the designer. But in this case, because I'm in our demo account and I don't want to have that show up in the InkSoft designer because my coworkers will be like, where did this come from? I'm going to uncheck that. So we'll go ahead and hit save changes. Pretty straightforward. So in a nutshell, in that area, just make sure your print regions are where you want them, and make sure your printing methods are assigned, and make sure that you have a color palette assigned to that product if you plan on using that in the designer. Now, in terms of colors and images, here, so we're already getting a list of one or more colors are currently inactive due to missing product images. So these are the colors that were discontinued. So that's why they're not populated. So probably the easiest thing to do, since some of these products are still available and some of them are discontinued, is just get rid of the discontinued ones. So I'm going to go down here and just start checking out the ones that are discontinued. So why don't we just nuke those? Because you might already have those discontinued products in your store. And so if we already have a discontinued product in the store, we don't want to do anything to disrupt that. So let's go up here and we'll check that. We'll check that, check that. Incidentally, if there's a new color, that's going to automatically be populated into the feed. Bulk actions, and then we're just going to delete those. We're just going to hit delete. And now we don't have any more of those discontinued products in here. And that would be a problem if I had them in a store. They're not going to disappear from the store, but maybe I had a closeout. I had a stack of these sitting in the warehouse because I bought out all the yellow shirts. You don't want to delete the product until you sold through all the yellow shirts, if that makes sense. So we've got that going. By the way, a couple things in here to take a look at. These are the hex numbers for those color swatches. I'm going to copy that out of here, but I want to show you what happens when we change it. You see how it changes it just by changing the hex numbers? And I'm just going to copy those old numbers back in so we get that back. Select color type. I could mark this for light or dark, just the way it views within a store. I'm just going to leave that alone. Store assignment, and I could just individually assign products to stores. And so we'll go ahead. I'll show you how to assign a product to a store when we get done with that. There's 8 sizes, but you know what? I don't really want to deal with the big ones. So I only want to carry up through 2XL. So I'm going to change that. And then minimum per order, I'm not going to put that in there. And these are the pricing grids that I set up. So I can say, I'm just going to use the default grid for both of these. And then we're just going to save changes. So you notice when I went in and changed the available sizes 6 of 8, it's doing that by product. So it gives you the latitude. If you want to sell maybe 3X and 4X and just white only, you could do that and not have that available in any other colors. And that's a very common scenario that decorators will use. That's how you manage colors. And let's say you're in here and you're like, I'm not crazy about this color photography in here. You can go in and actually replace photos in here too. And here's a manual delete button if you want to delete something. So if you click on this is where you would click to change the product view out. And I've seen that. I've seen people do that. They go in the SAMR feed and they love the SAMR product images, and they want to take an SNS product and put SAMR photography in there. We see people do that, or the vice versa of that. Or maybe they take their own photos. Maybe they take a photo of their kid in the shirt. You would just use a little upload button here and it would automatically swap out the product with your photo. One thing I would probably do before I did that is I would probably copy this photo, screen grab it before I did that, if I need to go back to it. You can also manually add a new color here if you want to. Let's save those changes. And then we'll scoot right over here to pricing and inventory. This particular product is going to be fixed pricing, but I can also apply a pricing rule to it and create all kinds of pricing rules that get to a specific dollar volume and it produces a discount. Right now, base price, this is pulling in from Sanmar. They're generic off-the-shelf pricing. Let's say you negotiated a deal with Sanmar and you're getting case pricing and, ongoing basis, this is $6.10, right? You save 8 cents. You can't go over and override that. I always tell customers, leave standard pricing alone. And then just, if you got a discount, just pocket that. Because this pricing, what it's going to be used, it will be used in your reporting, but it also be used in like revenue sharing programs if you're doing fundraising within a store. And it's also going to be used in the InkSoft Designer if they're calculating pricing. So padding your margins a little bit by leaving the off-the-shelf pricing in there, I think is a pretty good move. Now you also see where it says inventory and then do not enforce. What enforcing inventory means is that the inventory will be displayed in the store, and it will tell you when you're out of stock. It'll say, hey, this product is out of stock, because it's checking SAMR's website and sees that it's out of stock. Enforce, and that's what enforce for my inventory would do. It would be checking the SAMR count to see if there's inventory in stock, and it would display if it wasn't. Now, enforce from my inventory would be I can go into this product and I can add inventory for a specific product in my purchasing. I can just go in there and add inventory. So alternative go-go tee, I could go into my purchasing and just add 100 units in there, and 24 smalls and 24 mediums, or whatever the sizing, and then it will enforce from my inventory. It'll say when I'm out. And where people do that, I think it's really smart, is if you have pre-decorated products from an event and you just want to sell off the excess inventory, create a product, go in and add it into inventory, and let it sell down through the store, and it'll count down until it's 0. But let's go ahead and click on enforce from SAMR inventory, and we'll click on that, and we'll save the changes there. This product is available for quantity discounts. If you want to read up on that, you click on the little help thing. So, yep, we're allowing this product to be discounted once they reach certain quantities. Styles, pricing, and inventory. So here's where we can go in and do store price override. So let's say we had a specific store that, we wanted to just discount this just into one existing store. It's just going to be a little cheaper. Maybe it's your brother-in-law and you're giving them a deal. You can do a pricing override just for one store. So, it's $3. Maybe you want to make it, if it's your brother-in-law, you should make it $4. You charge them a little bit more. So you can go and price override for just individual stores. And some people do that. It's been my belief that keeping pricing simple and making it easy for your customers is generally a good move. We'll go ahead and save those changes. And now we have a product, but it's not in a store. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this product, not to my main store, but I'm just going to add it to a singular store. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here to general, and I could just say select all and put it in everything, but I'm just going to add it to one store, and I'm just going to add it to the Central Booster CM store, which is one of my school stores. So we're just going to add it. So the only place this product is going to be now is in my store. That's where it's going to live. And so basically, when you're kind of on a roll, it's pretty quick to add products. You can do this process in bulk. So really the only time you ever have to go in and make all these changes is if, let's say, you want to change imprint type to maybe only embroidery for a polo shirt, something like that. Otherwise, you could just add the product, and probably the default settings and print regions are probably fine. I always do like to go in and look at the sizing, because not everybody wants to offer all, especially if you're doing transfers, or even more importantly, screen printing. You can probably get away with a medium to XX imprint size with maybe like 11 inches or something of that nature. But you start getting into double, triple, and quads and 5X, 11 inches go terrible on those. So you might not want to do that. If you have a direct garment printer, you don't care. You're just going to blow the image up when you go to print those bigger sizes anyways. Transfers, you might order 2 batches, one for, say, small through extra large, and one from double X to 5X if you wanted to. So I always do recommend kind of keeping an eye on the sizes that are available in there. So once we have that product and we've assigned it to a singular store, we can add it to a store by adding a graphic to it. So if I go over to that store and I just go over to the Central Boosters right here, Central Boosters CM right there, we'll click on that. And I'm in my store admin. When I go over to store admin, when I go to add products and go to new products, it's just going to be chilling there. If I click on this product, let me click on it. Can't remember if we add embroidery in this store. Yeah. So this is what I was saying. The rule for this is to scale from the DST file. So it's not going to let you make that bigger or smaller because it's to scale. And so if you made it huge, the customers think it's going to be full chest when it was digitized for pocket. That's kind of a safety thing. Way to get around that is upload a PNG file of the embroidery, like a rendering from your, graphic software or your embroidery software. So for instance, Adobe Illustrator now has a simulated embroidery effect, or maybe you use Drawings or Wilcom or Pulse or Moco Design Shop. You can just have a PNG, and when you do that, you can make them as big as you want. Yeah, let's just go add this cross-country design. So we've got the cross-country design in here. It did put it in a good spot, but notice the colorways don't really work. And because this is a PDF and it's a vector-based file, I can go over here and create a new colorway, which I've done. I just created a colorway where I reassigned, I think, the dark navy to white, so it looks really good. And That way I can go and click on that and get it set up. So where that's handy is when you do this. When you go to add color, and we'll add white. So that looks great. That looks great. So let's create the product. And we'll click next product details. And I'm going to put a specialized custom SKU in here. Let's do CB for central boosters. So we can just assign a SKU just for that store. So it's just easy to pull it up in a report. And I do want to make the default color the gray that shows up first. And the pricing, we'll put $30 in there and hit finish. So that product's just ready to load in the store. And all I have to do at this point is just go to Style Editor, go to Store Components, add a featured product. And then it's just going to be waiting for me when we go to Manage Products and get this added in. All that work you did when you created the product and assigned it to store, that's what allows you to load these stores up so quickly with products. This is a quick store template that's got placeholder graphics. So what I did in this particular template, if you go to Store Admin and you go to the products, kind of take a look at what's already preloaded in here. Let's go look for Gildan. Let's see here. Yep, there you go. So I've just got a very carefully curated group of products in here that have the decoration on in the store. So I've got tons of products in here, the things that I think I might use for a school store. I've got all my basics in here that I might potentially use from a school store. So I added those products to this school template so that I've got everything I want in case I need it. But using what's called bulk art replacement in this store, it's really easy to go in here and set up the products for a new store and change that over to the Central Cougars. Here's why. If you look at the style editor over here, in the store itself, look at right here, I got the hat, I got the polo, same DST file. Over here, t-shirt, sweatshirt, same file. So remember that. Over here, sweatshirt, same graphics file. Think of these as like placeholders. And so what that's going to allow me to do is use this bulk art replacement in this curated catalog of products for this school store template to make a new store, populate it, and swap the graphics out real quick. So let's do that. And that's one of my favorite things to do in InkSoft. We're going to go over here. We're going to go to stores. We're going to go to that quick store template. There we go. And I'm just going to clone it. So I'm going to say clone store. And we'll call this Central Boosters Back to School, BTS. Am I stuck with that URL? No, because I can go back and redirect that URL to centralboosters.edu/merch if I want to. But the important thing to do is to click this button. Because when I click this button, it's going to bring over the entire catalog for my school stores, everything that I think I might need for school stores. I can go back and add additional things. But it's also going to bring over the art already pre-placed on those products. And that's where bulk art replacement is going to come in. So I'm going to go ahead and clone the store. And then we're going to use bulk art replacement to do some image swapping. So I'm going to go over here to replace art in bulk. And we can do this after the fact in the products selection. We can go back to store admin and product and do this after the fact as well. But the thing that I want to do in here is I want to take this DST file and I'm going to replace it with another embroidery file. And so I'm going to go into my Central Booster store files and we're going to go over here to DST and we're going to click on that and it's going to let me map the colors in here. So we're going to take that color and we're going to make it red. Actually, let's switch that over to Madeira. So we're going to make that red and we'll use that Christmas red. Looks pretty good. And then this color, we're going to make that, let's go do white. We'll just do snow white. Okay, done. And hit upload. Okay, so anything that had that artwork in it is automatically going to be swapped out with that. So we'll click on this one and replace that art. And I probably have the same file in that one as a PDF file. Probably the same exact graphic. I sure do. And so remember, I had two placeholders in there. So placeholder 1 was for the left chest pocket embroidery and the hat. And then placeholder 2 was just for all the full chest and pocket designs in there. So go to store products, see what's going on. So you see how they all swapped out? And then I can go over here and start swapping these out too. So I can go over to edit product details and replace that out too. So let's replace that art. This one right here. So this is kind of the after the fact way of doing bulk art uploading. I don't really have to worry about any of these other products. I can go delete all these out. So if I don't really want to do any more bulk art swapping here, I can delete all these out. Although I do kind of like this one. So let's go and swap that one out with an embroidery file. So we'll go over here, edit product. Got to click that first. Pricing and styles, and just say edit design and styles. Right there. Looks good. And let's see how the colorways look. Yeah, they look great. So that's how I localize my graphics. It's super, super easy to do. Products are good. We kind of lucked out because we have navy colors already, but let's localize the store real quick. And so we're going to go over here. I'm going to go to storefront, see what it looks like. And then I'm going to go to style editor and start localizing this. So we're going to make this the red from the logo. So first thing I'm going to do is go over to the cog, go to store branding, and start replacing out all the logos. So here's my store logo that I'm using right here. Here's the store icon I'm using, which is the little cougar PNG. Here's the preview image that I'm using right here. And that's what shows up in your, if you have Facebook or Instagram and you put a link in there and it kind of previews what the website is, that's what this is. And what I do is I go back and screen capture in 1600 by 900 pixels, the image, the site once it's all set up, and then save that as a PNG and then upload it. So here's that. And then let's go back to style editor, and you'll notice something when I go to change the background color in here. It's going to have pulled in the colors from the logo. So it's already done that. And let's see, we're going to leave the white buttons, this little promo bar, we're going to make that red. I think I already made the background red for this. Let's see, that looks good. And we'll make this background red. So that's why adding the logo up front is really smart. And then really the only thing we have to do is just change this banner out. And so I'm just going to remove that banner, upload the new one, save and publish. That's it. I mean, that's how fast. So think of it this way. Spend the time to curate your main catalog, even if those products aren't assigned to a store. Just curate your main catalog, get them all tuned in, go and review all the products, make sure they're set up all the ways that you want, with the colors that you want to be able to supply that are active, with the sizes that you want to be able to offer selected, with the print regions exactly the way you want them, with decoration methods that you want to include included. And once you do that, then start assigning the products to a model store. So what I would do is use a store template to begin with, and then get that exactly the way I wanted it, populate it with exactly the products I want to have, assign the products to my main product catalog, and then in the actual store, just put the main things that I want to use all the time. So in this case, this is kind of the 80-20 rule. You got a basic hat, you've got your polo shirt, you got your basic tee, you got your basic long sleeve tee, you got a crew neck and your hoodie. So I don't know if it's 80%, but it's a good percentage of a back to school athletic kind of a spirit wear store. Maybe add a dry fit hoodie and a dry fit tee, and that would be good too. Once you got that set up, then cloning is super easy. That just becomes your store that you clone from. And that's why this was super easy for me to do it, because I can clone from the store. And here's the other part now. If I come over here and I go to the Rapid Product Creator, I just want to create something from scratch. I'll go over here to Store Admin, Products, Add Products. It doesn't take very long to do this. I can just come over here. Here's that nano tee. Click on it, create product, done. And one thing I would probably do when I'm all done with this, I would go into Store Admin. I'd go into Art, and any art that I'm really not going to use. So let's say I'm not going to really ever use this t-shirt in here. Maybe go and delete that product. And then all the art that doesn't apply to this particular store, I would go back and delete it. So I'd go back and just start deleting all these ones that don't apply to the store. And it doesn't take very long to do it. Although this store is it's really quite well populated. It's like a lot of good stuff in here. So that's it. That's the whole process. So The last part of this whole conversation is really about the designer. We have lots of classes about the designer and how that works, but I did not enable the product that I just added in the designer. And the reason I didn't enable it is I didn't want it to show up as a default product in my designer. Otherwise, I've got my designer selected with just exactly the products I want to be able to offer for customer supplied decoration. I don't want it to make it too complicated. I just want a very small range of products for people to use within the designer. So that's why I did not activate that. Best practices, you should be store cloning. That is the magic of InkSoft. It's one of the best features we've ever done. It makes life super easy. I have customers that are running hundreds of stores, and without store cloning, it would probably be unmanageable. So that's a huge thing. Keep your catalog clean. Don't gunk it up with everything you think you might need in the future. You can always go back and add something. Just keep your basics in there. Is that 50 products? Is that 100 products? It's kind of up to you, but keep your basics, the things that you frequently use in there. And then if you need to add something later on, do that, because it's just more stuff to have to search through when you're creating stores. Remove unused store assignments if not needed. If you don't need those products in the store, you can just remove them from the store. It's pretty easy to do, and you can do that in bulk. Summary: your product catalog is your curated library. Rapid Product Creator is the way of populating products from that library into your stores by uploading graphics, syncing them up, doing colorways. If you are going to add one of those new products that you add and you want it to appear in your designer, you need to go into the product and check the box, be available in the designer. Spend some time being very thoughtful about selecting your products, be intentional about it, keep that catalog really clean. It just makes adding products and populating stores super efficient and super fast. I really enjoyed showing you guys for the first time the new way that products are edited in InkSoft. It's much more intuitive. It's easier to follow. It makes sense. Roll your sleeves up, get in there, practice a little bit, and I hope you enjoy the new features. Thank you again for joining me on InkSoft Academy, and we will see you on the next one.